Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Thanks for joining me again. Day 90 of Take a Journey with Me. Can't believe it's been 3 months, minus a few days that I had to take off. And we're continuing this study into Holy Week. We had Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday, Holy Monday, Holy Tuesday, Holy Wednesday, also known as Spy Wednesday. Today, Maundy Thursday, Holy Thursday. Maundy Thursday is celebrated by either communion in honor of the Last Supper and beginning of Passover, or also washing of parishioners' feet. I'm going to read a few different passages relating to Maundy Thursday, Holy Thursday, related to Passover, communion, the Last Supper, Jesus washing the disciples' feet, and the events connected to each of them. I hope this won't seem too dry. I know it'll be a little bit longer, but I love learning straight from the Bible myself. I hope you do as well. And the events surrounding the Last Supper, especially including instructions for Passover. They're very important to understanding the history of that day, on top of what would then happen to Jesus that week, Holy Week, Easter weekend, which was unfortunately connected to his disciples in unique ways. I was a part of a washing of the feet and um, a Last Supper type of meal at church, not just communion. And I can explain that a little bit more later, what those mean and what went on. It was very special, very helpful to my understanding, because I'm more of a visual and hands-on audio learner. So it was very helpful for me in the seminary. So first, why is Monday added to Thursday instead of just Holy Thursday? Well, in John 13, verse 34, we read about the mandate from Jesus to follow these practices. Monday equals mandate, and mandate equals command. John 13 and 34 reads, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." Thanks be to God. In Luke chapter 22, we read of Jesus predicting the acts by Simon Peter and more. It's 22 verses 27 to 38. Who is more important, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? The one who sits at the table, of course, but not here. For I am among you as one who serves. You have stayed with me in my time of trial, and just as my Father has granted me a kingdom, I now grant you the right to eat and drink from my table in the kingdom. And you will sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Continues that Jesus predicts Peter's denial, starting with verse 31. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat. But I have pleaded in prayer for you, Simon, that your faith should not fail. Simon, Simon Peter. So when you have repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brothers. Peter said, Lord, I am ready to go to prison with you and even die with you. But Jesus said, Peter, let me tell you something. Before the rooster crows tomorrow, you will deny me 3 times that you don't even know me. Then Jesus asked them, the rest of the disciples, including Peter, of course, when I sent you out to preach the good news and you did not have money, a traveler's bag, or an extra pair of sandals, did you need anything? No, they replied. But now he said, take your money and a traveler's bag, and if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. For the time has come for this prophecy about me to be fulfilled. He was counted among rebels. Yes, everything written about me by the prophets will come true. Look, Lord, they replied, we have 2 swords among us. That's enough, he said. Thanks be to God. Now, continuing through to the events for the Last Supper, we read about Judas and Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. Just trying to go to the timeline of that day in the evening. It's important to read it just from the Bible and take it from line by line of what it really means to us. Let it speak to you. In the book of John, chapter 13, verses 2 through 17. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all the things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" A question. Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said, "Not everyone was clean." When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place at the table. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for this is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Praise be to God. Now, we're going to read about the instructions leading up to and participating in the communion with Jesus and the Last Supper. This is found in Luke chapter 22, verses 7 to 23. The Last Supper. Now, the festival of unleavened bread arrived, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John ahead and said, this is a little bit in advance, backwards, but it makes sense to some degree to understand it this way. "Go and prepare the Passover meal so we can eat it together." "Where do you want us to prepare it?" they asked him. He replied, "As soon as you enter Jerusalem, a man carrying a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him. At the house he enters, say to the owner, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples?' He will take you upstairs to a large room that is already set up. That is where you should prepare our meal." They went off to the city and found everything just as Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover meal there. When the time came, Jesus and the apostles sat down together at that table. Jesus said, "I have been very eager to eat this Passover meal with you before my suffering begins. For I tell you, now that I won't eat this meal again until its meaning is fulfilled in the kingdom of God." Then he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it. Then he said, "Take this and share it among yourselves." He took some bread and gave thanks to God for it. Then he broke it into pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." After supper, he took another cup of wine, and said, "This cup is the new covenant between God and his people, an agreement confirmed with my blood, which is poured out as a sacrifice for you. But here at this table, sitting among us, a friend is the man who will betray me. For it has been determined that the Son of Man must die. But what sorrow awaits the one who betrays him?" The disciples began to ask each other which of them would ever do such a thing. Thanks be to God. I'd like to share what is included in the Passover meal. especially, very traditional, a Jewish tradition. I've participated in one at the church I was going to before as well, washing of the feet at that church. Like I said, I'm a visual, um, learner, audio learner, and being part of that hands-on was really helpful for me. It's also known as the Cedar Meal, and it's called Passover Haggadah. In traditional communities, Jewish communities, Passover begins at sunset. This typically occurs in March or April of each year, and the 14th of Nisan, a day in the calendar of the Bible. Passover began in the days of Moses, when the homes had been passed over where blood from a lamb was on their doors. There is a specific order for the events of that day for Passover, and that's where the term Seder comes in. Leading up to the meal, there were specific steps they needed to attend to. One, read the Bible regarding the history of Passover. These can be found in the Old Testament, in the book of Numbers, chapter 9, book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, and the book of Exodus, chapter 12. Second, go to a Messianic temple for service. 3, traditional prayers for the service. 4, prepare the meal. 5, acknowledge that the respect must be given for the difference in and how one celebrates them, Passover and Easter, while understanding the difference between these are between one being a Christian and the other one being a Jewish event. Respecting the differences but also respecting how a lot of people celebrate them together, but making sure you understand at the same time that they're very different and probably very different meanings, more internal than the other. The items included in the Passover are matzah, M-A-T-Z-O-H, my pronunciations. This includes 3 unleavened matzahs are placed within the fold of a napkin as a reminder of the haste with which the Israelites fled Egypt, leaving no time for dough to rise. Second, 2 are consumed during the service, and 1, the afkomen, A-F-T-K-O-M-E-N, is spirited away and hidden during the ceremony to be later found as a prize. The second item, M-A-R-O-R, more. Bitter herbs, usually horseradish or romaine lettuce, used to symbolize the bitterness of slavery. CHAROSES, churros, a mixture of apples, nuts, wine, and cinnamon as a reminder of the mortar used by the Jews to construct the construction of the buildings when they were slaves. Beitzah, B-E-I-T-Z-A-H, a roasted egg as a symbol of life and the perpetuation of existence. Excuse me. Carpas, K-A-R-P-A-S. It's a vegetable, preferably parsley or celery, representing hope and redemption, served with a bowl of salted water to represent the tears that were shed. Zeoroh, Zeroah. Traditionally a piece of roasted lamb shank bone, symbolizing the paschal sacrificial offering. Lastly, wine. 4 glasses of wine are consumed during the service to represent the fourfold promise of redemption, with a special glass left for Elijah the prophet at the table. I'm going to link a wonderful resource that I've gleaned a lot of this from today. Of course, the Bible mainly, but also an article in Crosswalk that this really was helpful in laying it out. So how would you have felt being at the Last Supper as a disciple? The questions each of them had to have when Jesus was stating one of them was going to betray him. I can't imagine. The washing of their feet, feeling unworthy or like they should be washing his feet. And probably didn't understand at the very moment the significance of what he was saying in regards to the Last Supper, the bread and the wine, my body, my blood. I'm sure this was confusing to them. Have you ever participated in a Passover meal before, or what do you remember about it? Even communion at church in relations to the Last Supper. Did you do so out of routine or while truly understanding the significance of the moment? I have one more egg to open for this week. Tonight's it's the third one so far, so that means we have 9 more after tonight. And this is the light purple one. Let's see what's in this one. Light purple matches my outfit today. Um, this includes the cup for the Last Supper and for the Passover meal. Jesus had a special dinner with his disciples, 12 of his closest friends. They traveled with him and learned from him. During the meal, Jesus stood up and held out a cup and gave everyone a drink. Then he said something that was hard for them to understand. He said that the wine in the cup was his blood. He didn't mean that they would actually be drinking blood, but that the wine was a symbol or a picture of his blood. He wanted them to remember this special night and the covenant of promise, and the covenant or promise he was making to them and to all people. Do you know what that promise is? You'll find out for the rest of the week. I think these just add a little extra touch to the learning. Like I said, I'm a visual learner. I know this has been a little long, extra long, but I hope you've gleaned something from it as I have, and we'll speak more tomorrow on Good Friday. Kind of the name Good Friday when it's a bad event, but it's okay. There's a good reason for everything, and God has it all. So I hope you all have a blessed rest of the day. Talk to you tomorrow. Love y'all. Bye bye.